It is just another Mantis Monday. Today, Dry Fire Monday, and I really want to focus today on the most unsafe thing I see most people do, whether it's in their dry fire or then transferring over to the range in live fire, and how you can stop that trash immediately. Whether in dry fire or in live fire, the Mantis X firearms training system really helps you to get better every day with your defensive shooting. I use mine all the time. Okay, so in today's video, we're not going to get a whole lot of shooting done, but I'm going to show you the most unsafe thing that I see most people do, and I see people do it all the time in our classes. We have to watch folks like a hawk, and I literally see it every time I teach a class, every time I take a class as a student. I see students do this literally every single time. I see people point guns at themselves repeatedly, regularly, unthinkingly, and dangerously. And if we go back to our rules of firearms safety, whether you want to see Colonel Cooper's rules or the NRA's rules, one of those rules is don't point guns at yourself or at anyone else who doesn't need a gun pointed at them. However you want to say that. Well, where do I see students doing that? Honestly, it's when they holster the gun. Now, of course, you guys know that I'm usually an appendix carrier. I'm always an appendix carrier. This is Benvolio, my P30 gray guns, with an RMR on it. But also strong side today, have another VP9 in an outside the waistband holster, because I see this all the time, and I want to show you from both why this is such a huge problem. Now, I'm going to show you that the problems show up a little differently if you're carrying appendix versus if you're carrying strong side. And people might be wondering, why am I carrying on my right side strong side? Quite frankly, it's because I couldn't in the moment find a strong side outside the waistband, left-handed holster, so that you could see it, so you get the right-handed version, but it'll work the same. What I see students doing all the time is they're going to get out here and they go, oh, okay, cool, and they go to work and they go do their thing, whatever. Again, this gun's been checked, unloaded a whole bunch, and then when it's time to go back in the holster, I see this all the time when especially I see people dry firing, or when I see them task focused, they're doing something, they've been released to their task on the range, and they go pew, 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 pew. And I'm going to show this to you, again, having verified once again, for the umpteenth time that this gun is unloaded. And here's what I see. I see people going pew, 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 and then they get done with their pew-pewing, and now it's time to go back in the holster. And you go, well, wait a minute, what was wrong with that, John? Do you realize how much force I put on that gun when it went into the holster? Was I paying attention to the holstering? Was that holstering what we always talk about, being reluctant and with minimum amounts of force? And did I look the gun into the holster? Now, I'm willing to have this fight with you. Okay, some people say, never look the gun in the holster, always keep your eyes on the threat. Here's the reality. If you are a non-law enforcement officer and there is still a threat, here's a clue: don't put your gun away. Don't put your gun away. Keep the gun out of the holster. If instead it is time to put the gun in the holster, do so reluctantly, slowly, thoughtfully, and carefully. So what should that look like instead? Okay, it's time, you go, you get all your pew-pew work done, everything is done. Now what does it look like instead? Okay, so here is my method for teaching a reholster. First of all, take a deep breath and slow down. So I'm done, I'm gonna go back in the holster now. Pew, 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 I've done all my pew. Okay, now I don't teach the range, HACA, scan and assess. I don't think that's particularly necessary. Now here's what I do. I go thumb over. Now for striker fire guys, that's not gonna help you all that much unless you're running a Glock with a striker control device, which if you're running a Glock, I think you should strongly consider the striker control device. But regardless, for everybody else, what that's gonna do is that puts my thumb on my chest. So that comes to the chest. Then what happens here is I gather my cover garment and bring it all the way up. One of the things that I see people doing all the time here is they're checking and they're holding their holster. Well, remember, one of the things with a quality holster is it needs to keep the firearm and it needs to stay open so that you can get back into the holster. So I clear my cover garment, gets my support hand out of the way. Now, my thumb is still touching me. Now watch what happens here. Sometimes I see people with an appendix carried gun. They tend to do this. They come around this way. Of course, the problem is there's people on the line left and right of me, in all likelihood. Not a safe thing to do. So instead, I tilt the gun while it's still pointed downrange, touch me, clear my cover garment. Now look, I have to look and clear the holster. Now for me, that still means clearing a little bit of chubbiness, a little bit of fluffy, and seeing, okay, my holster is wide open. Now here's what I do that's a little differently than most. It's not original to me, but it's something that I do is I drive down and I encourage people here, step out, kick your hips forward. That clears all your body parts from appendix, and then I tap the outside of the holster. That ensures, I'm just tapping with the very bottom of the muzzle, and that ensures that my muzzle is clear of me. Now raise up just enough, still keeping my thumb on my person to get into the holster, and slowly, carefully, easily, if I have any resistance, stop. Go ahead and put the gun away. Okay, there we go. That's how we did it. So I explained it, and that's why it took a little bit of time. But if I'm doing it myself and I go pew, 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 and I'm doing my stuff, now I step out, come together, tap, look, carefully and safely. That's all it takes to not point a firearm at yourself while you are holstering it appendix. How about strong side? I will tell you, I see this so much more often strong side. I have a feeling psychologically when you're holstering a gun near your wedding tackle, you are less likely to do these kinds of things and you're a little bit more careful. But here we go. Again, somebody came and they had to do the pews and they go pew, 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 and they do all their stuff. A little odd for me to be doing it with my right hand. I'm going to once again verify that this is an empty gun. Yep, sure is. Now, here's what I see people doing all the time. They go and they do their pews. Pew, 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 pew. And they did all the pews that they have to pew. And now they're going to go put the gun back in the holster. So they go, okay, here's my finger off the trigger. That's good. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, here's what happens. Now, what did you see there that you didn't like? Number one, I didn't look the gun into the holster, and so because of that, I had to fish. Now, what I didn't do this time, but I do see all the time, especially for inside the waistband holsters, is I see this and I see them doing their pew, and then when they can't quite get it, they do this. And what that does here, if you look at what's happening here. Now, again, that's not good. If I'm pointing a gun, that's going to go right through my kidney, right down into my pelvis. That's going to be a bad, bad, bad day. I see students do that all the time. So what do we do instead? Gun comes out, goes pew, pew, pew. Okay, we're done with all of our pew. Now, once again, we come over, clear our cover garment out of the way and clear our support hand out of the way. We go, look, I might have to clear some chubbiness to look and see, is my holster clear? It is clear. So now I touch, I use that thumb again and touch my pec. This is a thumb pectoral index. Now, I'm gonna take my dominant leg and actually step it in to get it out of the way. So step it in so that it is not going to get flagged. Bring the muzzle down while it's still pointed downrange completely. Notice my hand is out of the way. Touch the outside of the holster up just enough. Easy, easy, easy click. And then I'm done. So that is a slow, reluctant, safe holster, and you notice I didn't point a gun at myself. So let's show you with a little bit more rapidity. Okay, bang, bang, bang. I've gone and done all the pew that I need to do. I've pew-pewed. Now again, I come back, check it. Thumb pectoral index, C, yep. Clear the hand out of the way, clear the foot out of the way, tap the outside of the holster, in, click, let the gun go, and I didn't point the gun at myself. And guys, I'm just telling you yet again, I see this literally every single time I am a student on the range, every time I'm an instructor on the range. We teach safe holstering first thing in our one-day cover your ASP Pareto principle, most important critical handgun skills, critical concealed carry pistol skills class. I see this, I have to teach holstering, and I do so every time, and I still see students do it, and we have to watch them like a hawk. Now, how are you going to get better at this and not do it? Simply in your dry fire. That's what you're going to do. So you're going to, okay, I got to go do my work, pew, 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 and I'm going to go do all my stuff now. Deep breath out, safely holster. Touch, out, look, clear, yep, touch, easy, back in the holster. Good, let's do it again. Pew, 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 did all my pewing. Good, gun comes back, check, look, step that back, kick the hips forward, tap. Safely holster, take your time. Now you might say, gosh, but I have to get back in the holster for the next drill. This is one of the reasons that I don't do up drills in my classes. Now your teacher might in yours, but if you got to take a rep off because you have to have the time to safely holster, then do so. If at a break you got to say, hey, I'm really having a hard time getting in the holster fast enough with safety in order to be ready, and they'll either tell you to take a rep off, do every other, they might slow down their cadence, or if they're not willing to do all that stuff and they say, no, you have to keep up, might be a clue that you need to leave, that you need to say, nope, this isn't a good class, and they are not taking safety seriously. So once again, as we're going strong side here, I'm gonna go, maybe I'll go a little single-handed draw here, bang, 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 did all my work, okay, cool. Did all my stuff, now I clear, touch, step in, look, yep, clear, tap, into the holster. Now, if you do that safely and you just work on it in your dry fire and just doing it all the time. Here I go, gonna go do my clicks. Great, got it, reset. Here's everything, see it, step out, kick forward. And if you do it nice and easy and safe time and time again in your dry fire, then when you go to the range, you won't point a gun at yourself. So today's dry fire Mantis Monday tip, please safely holster your firearm.